Hanımefendiler, kıymetli beyefendiler, 3. Dünya Turizm ve Kültür Konferansı Bakanlar oturumuyla devam ediyor. Şimdi oturumu yönetmek üzere BBC Seyahat Programı'nın sunucusu Rajan Datar'ı sahneye davet ediyoruz.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Third World Conference on Tourism and Culture will continue with the Ministerial Segment. I would like to invite Mr. Rajan Datar, host of BBC Travel Show, to moderate the session.
Good morning, or should I say, it's nearly afternoon, isn't it? Why is it these things always slightly overrun? I'm never quite sure about that. But anyway, welcome to my esteemed panel, to our gracious hosts. Let me tell you that Istanbul is a favorite city of mine. It's fascinating, it's full of culture. You can pick a better place to have this conference. And I want to say hello to you, the audience, because this session is for you. This is not about ministers or delegates pursuing a self-serving thing where they just sell their country to you. We don't want that, do we? No, we don't want that. I've got 34 people here, so you've got to basically, I'm asking these guys to help me out as well and make sure that you don't speak for too long, nice and punchy answers, nice and short, because we're here for the benefit of the audience as well, as much as our own countries. Just to let you know who I am, I work for the travel show, BBC programme, 70 million viewers. We're very choosy about who we decide to cover on the programme. And obviously culture is absolutely crucial to what we do. So we're always looking for good cultural stories. And that, I think, is what we'll hopefully get from the delegates today, from the people talking today, about their own stories in their own countries. So today we're talking about the interaction of culture and tourism to achieve sustainable goals that benefit and integrate local communities. In my experience, as I said, tourism is culture. It's about just arriving in a city, you are immediately immersing yourself in culture. Tourism is about exchanging cultures. There's all this conversation at the moment about how tourism has moved from being a consumerist activity to being an experiential category. And they're even talking now about tourism being a transformational category. In other words, you change yourself as a tourist when you arrive in a new place. You change something about yourself, your outlook to life. And I think that is, again, very important in this discussion. We are going to have more and more tourists out there from China, from India, new young people going in there to explore the world, and you know it's just growing tourism at the moment. I've heard this phrase that culture and tourism have this awkward relationship, they're like siblings, and tourism is a bit like the naughty brother of culture, and that basically tourism goes off and does its thing, and culture says, hang on a minute, we've got to just respect our culture. It's not just all about money and selling culture as a product. So therefore, for that reason, we have separated the two panels here. One side, or the left-hand side, are tourism ministers and representatives, and on the other side, we've got culture and tourism ministers. So they kind of have slightly different outlooks, and I think we'll explore that as we go on. They can have conflictual aims. One side could want to exploit the other to the hilt, and obviously people from culture want to make sure that they can preserve the cultural assets, and that culture is, you know, in a sense, if you're a purist, culture is its own asset. It's worth what it is by itself. It doesn't need to be monetized, but that's an extreme view, perhaps. So what I'm asking these people to do is to offer illustrations from their own countries to basically tell us how they are reconciling these two amazing forces, culture and tourism. I've asked them to be precise, concise, and to not make speeches. And if I do interrupt, which I might do just because you're going on for too long, excuse me, okay? I'll say apologies now. All right, let's start with our host. You are originally from the private sector. You've worked on the private sector side of tourism for years. Now you're on the other side of the table, and you were mindful then of the needs of the tourism sector, and now you're in a position to solve the problems. So being somebody who knows both parties, can you tell us what should be the common denominator of public and the private sectors for the benefit of all. How can we take this sector ahead?
Şimdi Türkiye biliyorsunuz 24 Haziran seçimlerinden sonra yeni bir yönetim sistemine geçti. Cumhurbaşkanlığı yönetim sistemi. Bu sistemle birlikte de bazı bakanlıklara sektöründe uzmanlaşmış, özel sektörde konusunda uzmanlaşmış kişiler atandı. Ben de bu Turizm Bakanı, Kültür ve Turizm Bakanı'nda bu örneklerden biriyim. Bunu yaparken bizim hükümet olarak önceliğimiz süratle hız kazanmasıydı. Ve aynı dili konuşan kişilerin kamu tarafında da görev almasıyla sorunların daha hızlı çözüleceği düşünmüştü. Bizim de ilk misyonumuz bu oldu açıkçası. Nasıl işleri hızlandırabiliriz, birikmiş sorunları nasıl hızlı çözeriz diye. Sektörden gelen görüşlerde de zaten herkes dile getiriyor. Lep demeden leblebi anlayan bir bakanımız oldu. Çünkü sektörün içinde bütün bu sorunlarla karşılaşmış bir kişi olarak. Açıkçası çok faydasını gördüğüne inanıyorum sektörün hızlanmak açısından. İkinci nokta, ben açıkçası Turizm Bakanı olmadan önce, Kültür ve Turizm Bakanı olmadan önce ben de sorguluyordum. Kültür ve turizm beraber olmalı mı diye. Ayrı bakanlıklar mı olmalı yoksa aynı bakanlık işte birleşmeli mi diye kararsızdım. Ama bakan olduktan sonra emin oldum ki kesinlikle beraber olmasında fayda var. Çünkü kültür ve turizm birbirinin ayrılmaz parçası. Yani burada aslında faydalanan turizm oluyor, kültürden faydalanan. Ben biraz farklılaştırma yaratmak istedim. Turizm kültürden faydalanıyor ama kültürün de turizmden biraz fayda görmesi lazım. Bu faydanın karşılığında kültüre katkıda bulunması gerektiğini düşünerek bakanlıktaki politikaları kültür lehine bazı değişiklikler yaptım. Biz turizm tanıtma için oluşturduğumuz fonların bir kısmını kültürel değerlerimizin gelişmesi, arkeolojik alanlarımızın daha kuvvetli kazı sürelerini de uzatacak bir şekilde kullanılması açısından yeni projeler geliştirmeye başladım. Böylelikle birbirini her seferde daha fazla destekleyen, daha fazla büyüten bir döngü oluşmasını sağladım diye düşünüyorum. Sağlayacağız da inşallah hayata geçmeye başladığı sürece. Basit bir örnek vereyim hatta size. Şimdi hepimizin turizm ülkeleri olarak baktığımız zaman denizi, kumu, güneşi var. Farklı şekillerde de olsa. Neyle ayrışacağız birbirimizden? Açıkçası kültürümüzle, arkeolojik değerlerimizle, sanatımızla, müziğimizle. Çünkü bunlar bizim ülkemize has, unik değerler. Bu değerleri biz ne kadar iyi tanıtmayı başarırsak o kadar da diğer ülkelerden ayrışmaya başlayacağız. Farklılıklarımız ortaya çıkmaya başlayacak. İkinci bir nokta, biz bunları kullanarak diğer ülkelerle de ilişkilerimizi de geliştirebiliyoruz. Aramızdaki iletişim arttıkça aramızdaki ziyaretler de artmaya başlıyor ve otomatikman turizm de gelişmeye başlıyor. Bu bağlamda biz artık turizmden, yani hükümet olarak turizmden elde ettiğimiz gelirlerin bir kısmını kültürümüzün, kültürel değerlerimizin, arkeolojik değerlerimizin, sanatımızın, gastronomimizin gelişmesi açısından kullanmaya karar verdik ve bu bağlamda da politikalar üretiyoruz. Basit bir örnek verebilirim. Şu anda bizim ülkemizde 153 noktada kazı yapılıyor. Arkeolojik kazı yapılıyor. Bu kazı yerlerinin ilk etapta işte hocaları topladık, kazı başkanlarını ve ilk etapta deneme amaçlı önümüzdeki yıl 2019 itibariyle 20 tanesini destekleme kararı aldık. Şöyle ki ağırlıklı kazı yerlerinde 45 ila 60 gün yıllık kazı yapılıyor hocalar tarafından. Sonra okula dönüyorlar. Bize bir proje hazırlarsanız ve 12 aya yayarsanız aylık bazda biz bunları destekleyeceğiz dedik. Şu anda projelerini hazırlıyor kazı başkanları. Ve turizm tanıtma fonumuzdan elde ettiğimiz gelirlerin bir kısmını buraya aktararak kazı yerlerinin 12 aya çıkmasını sağlayacağız. Bir süre sonra, deminki söylemde de çalışıyor olabilir, bu kazıda bir yere gelen bu noktalara gişeler koyup ziyaretçi alır hale getireceğiz. Buradan elde edilen gelirleri de o kazı yerlerine aktarıp kazının kendi başına sürdürülebilir olmasını, kendi başına kendi kendine ikame eder hale gelmesini sağlayacak bir proje geliştirdik. Bu projeyi de inşallah 2019 itibariyle uygulamaya başlayacağız. Aynı şekilde bu tabii hani sadece arkeolojik yerlerle alakalı değil. Kültürümüz, sanatımızla da ilgili projeleri birleştirmeye karar verdik. Çünkü siz yurt dışında sanatınızla, kültürünüzle bir tanıtım yaptığınız zaman, bunları sergilemeye başladığınız zaman yurt dışındaki insanlarda merak uyandırıyorsunuz. Sizin ülkenizi, sizin insanınızı, sizin yaşadığınız yerleri gezip görmek, tanımak istiyorlar. Çok hızlı bir iletişime geçiyorlar. Bunu da doğru yöntemlerle birleştirdiğiniz zaman, hani transport ve insani ögelerle hızlı da sonuç alıyorsunuz. O yüzden 2019 itibariyle Türkiye'de biz bütün tanıtım ve turizm stratejimizi bunun üzerine kurgulamak istiyoruz. Bunun çok faydalı olduğunu düşünüyoruz.
Thank you, Minister. Let me actually turn to a unique situation we have here with Slovenia, because we have the Minister of Culture from Slovenia and the Minister of Tourism from Slovenia. So I'm very interested to ask, maybe the Minister of Culture first. I've actually been to Slovenia. You have Lake Bled, you have the Sava River, you have this amazing countryside as well. How do you make sure that the role of culture is safeguarded when you have so much tourism in the country?
Thank you very much. First of all, allow me to thank you, the organizer, for this remarkable event. We see tourism and culture as a combination that is basically indivisible. Simply because when we try to offer to tourists our capacities far from big centers of tourism, Ljubljana, Bled, we are basically creating an environment of decentralization, giving opportunities for the development of cultural heritage, to give opportunities to people that are on the periphery. And basically, through culture that is interesting for tourists, we are developing our areas that are not in the center. And this is a great opportunity. The only thing that is a question which is basically environmental, and this is the challenge we are trying to address with leveling up the cultural fund that we can offer. More quality culture brings more quality guests. More quality guests means better care for the heritage, for the environment, and for the labor force that is included in the process. So culture and tourism are not on the opposite side, it's the same side, and we have the same goals with the measures that we can offer. Thank you.
Let me turn to your colleague and ask the same question in a way. And how do you make sure that through tourism you are protecting cultural assets? Because surely at some point, there must be some difference in goals.
Yeah, thank you for your question. You know, at the end of last year, the Slovene government adopted new strategy of development Slovene tourism. And we wrote it that we want to become a green, sustainable country for 5-star experiences. And we are definitely aware that cultural tourism is this 5th star of our experiences. And a few years ago, we established the Green Scheme of Slovene Tourism. It goes like international way how to involve municipalities, cities, local community to develop tourism. And we believe that it's more like partnership, local people and the guests and the businesses. Because otherwise, if the guests don't respect the environment where they're coming, it's hard to really pay attention not to, in some parts, devastated. But we believe that we are far away from this, so we still have challenges how to invite more guests 365 days per year, of course, to different parts to Slovenia, as my colleague already said. It's a country you can visit it from the Alps to the sea in 2 hours drive. And this is what we cherish most. The local communities, they can share with the guests the local stories.
Thank you. I want to turn to Jamaica because I don't know if you all know about this, but reggae. Anyone like reggae here? come on, you must like reggae, I love reggae, has become an intangible asset, intangible, recognized by UNESCO. So to Edmund Bartlett, can I ask, how do you make sure that a cultural asset like that is protected and not just completely overrun by tourism or cheapened by tourism?
Well, first of all, just to say that for us, culture and tourism indivisible, because we regard what I do as really marketing the culture of our country. So the reggae, which is autochthonous, which is the product of the creativity of the people of Jamaica, it's one of the gifts that we've given to the world. And so it's a very critical part of the treasures of Jamaica that cannot be commercialized beyond the value of ensuring that it provides an economic return. So the distinction perhaps is very subtle, because on the one hand, you want an economic return because that's an important part of what the marketing of your cultural product provides, but at the same time, you want to preserve that which is truly autochthonous and really reflective of the spirit and the creativity of your people. So that delicate balance we have, and we're grateful to UNESCO for designating to reggae as an intangible cultural heritage, and we want to preserve that. Having said that, however, the tagline for us in tourism, in our marketing, is One Love. And you know One Love is the millennial song. And One Love album is also the millennial album. And the One Love singer is the millennial artist, Bob Marley.
So everything's going to be all right, yeah? Let me turn to Bulgaria, because we had a good conversation yesterday about how you can actually not so much market, but certainly make it easier for tourists to understand where your top cultural assets are. Perhaps you can explain a little bit about that.
Yes, thank you for this question. First of all, I also share the vision that culture and tourism are integrated part of one activity to show the best of a country. And of course, culture is the one to make a bigger and more visible identity to each country with its monuments, history, traditions, customs. Considering that and the fact that Bulgaria has more than 40,000 artifacts on our land, and we are number 3 in Europe after Italy and Greece, we were discussing how to make those artifacts visible to tourists and to attract more attention, especially to those of them that are in the less known places in Bulgaria, not only around the national resorts that usually are the one attracted by tourists. So in our sustainable development strategy till 2030 that we adopted 2 years ago, we have a strict action plan in it. And regarding the marketing, we started several activities, one of which is the 100 best places to visit in the country, which we together with the local authorities, because I think the synergy between the local authorities, the business and the government is of crucial importance when we are talking about tourism. I have to go hand in hand. And we selected these 100 places to visit, and we encouraged each visitor, regardless is Bulgarian or foreigner, to go and visit those places, to receive a stamp, and then to be rewarded with some small gifts like t-shirts, hats, different brochures from Bulgaria, and of course to receive a certificate that has visited these places. Also, we have started another simultaneous campaign that is called the hidden and less known places in Bulgaria to be visited. Again, in the same scenario, and we have created a special app, a mobile app called I Love Bulgaria, where all those places can be visited virtually, of course, and with small videos also, using all the digital assets that we have to advertise them. So, having said that, all these places that are included in our app and in the so-called cultural historical destinations that we elaborated, that are 9 spanning the entire territory of the country, we have an increase almost in some museums, for example, or monuments with above 100%. And this meant to be very successful, and we are going now to enlarge each and every year the tourist attractions and cultural monuments that are included in this initiative, and to make them more visible, because in our less known regions in the country, tourism is one of the main driving economic forces, and very important for the development of the regions.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. I'm whizzing around the world here like an atom in a hadron collider, but we're now going to go to Chad and to the other side of the debate, if you like. And that is, I think there is a separate problem possibly with Chad, which is, I think, awareness of culture, global awareness of your culture is something that I think is something that probably you have to grapple with, and how tourism can help that.
Merci beaucoup. Je voudrais tout d'abord remercier bien sûr le ministère de la Culture de la Turquie pour l'invitation qu'il nous fait et de nous permettre de venir ici nous présenter. Et bien sûr remercier et encourager tout le travail que fait l'OMT, l'Unesco, afin que les pays comme les nôtres puissent avoir une voix et un développement beaucoup plus intégral. Donc vous avez raison, je vais parler français, hein, bien sûr, ça y est, je l'ai déjà fait. Le Tchad, c'est un pays de l'Afrique centrale déjà, il faut que je le positionne, c'est un pays de l'Afrique centrale, nous sommes au sud de la Libye, nous sommes à l'ouest du Soudan, nous sommes au nord du Cameroun, au nord-est du Niger, du Nigeria. Nous sommes dans une zone où, ces dernières années, nous avons des mouvements, des tensions, des conflits qui nous mettent dans l'échiquier international sous le thème avec une image qui est assez tendue, je dirais. Pas négative, sinon tendue. Le Tchad est donc un pays qui reçoit 130 000 touristes l'année. C'est-à-dire que c'est une destination touristique qui est très faible en comparaison à nos voisins, par exemple le Cameroun ou même le Nigeria. Nous sommes dans une zone où effectivement le conflit est latent, donc l'image du Tchad peut être lésée à cause de cela. Et donc quand on lie tourisme et culture, il est important de dire que le tourisme, bien sûr, nous permet ce développement socio-économique que nous devrions avoir, mais nous avons également au Tchad pas une culture, sinon des cultures. Ces cultures-là, comment les positionner sur justement cette promotion culturelle pour la rendre attractive. Nous avons plusieurs cultures représentées dans un contexte assez désertique. Nous avons au nord le désert avec des populations nomades. Nous avons au sud des populations plus sahéliennes, si bien elles sont sédentarisées. Donc ça veut dire que réellement nous avons une diversité culturelle qu'il faut promouvoir. Nous avons depuis 2014 2 sites qui sont inscrits dans le patrimoine mondial de l'Unesco. Nous avons le parc national de Zakouma, qui est un des parcs les plus, avec une faune et une flore les plus diversifiées de la zone. Et nous avons le massif de l'Enedi, qui est également où vous trouvez les peintures rupestres les plus anciennes. Donc effectivement, avec ces éléments culturels que nous avons, avec cette richesse et ce potentiel que nous avons, nous devons aller vers le tourisme. Et ce tourisme-là, il faut qu'il dépasse, qu'il assume cette image que nous avons d'une région instable peut-être, mais nous sommes un pays qui est le plus stable dans la région. Donc nous devons travailler sur cette visibilité, sur cette image du Tchad afin que les consommateurs, les clients, les touristes puissent consommer nos produits culturels d'une manière beaucoup plus sécuritaire, plus sûre et beaucoup plus sereine. Donc, le Tchad a ça comme caractéristique. Merci.
Thank you. Sorry, my translation just finished. Thank you so much for that, Minister. Let's go to Kenya, where I suspect the image, certainly in terms of global image, is safaris, Masai Mara. But how do you make sure, Minister, that you can promote so much more of your country culturally than just the obvious?
Well, thank you very much, Rajan. First of all, natural heritage, cultural heritage, and intangible heritage is intertwined with tourism. One is a consumer, which is tourism consumes, and then that consumption makes these cultural sector benefit from the fees and the payment that the tourism industry brings into that sector. More important, we need to sustain it so that it can be able to progress and improve and protect rather of destruction. I don't think the issue of over-tourism should be the challenge, but how do we manage tourism? If we manage tourism properly, then we will not talk about over-tourism and destruction of our cultural heritage sites. But more important here, how do we make sure that culture as a product is not for sale, but culture as a product is consumed and appreciated by the tourism sector? And here, for that matter, tourism, and today we learn from Her Excellency, the President of Malta, tourism can be used for diplomacy, for peace, and exchange. Here is where you connect tourism, travel, and culture. I give you a case study, Rajan. Almost the 8th century, people traveled into Kenya. And these are different cultures coming into Kenya. And from that interaction of travel, we develop trade. And after trade, we develop a language that is called Swahili language. Swahili language is a composition of Arabic, Bantu, African, and Asian languages. So that combination, as a result, created a nation of its own because of two things. People traveled because of peace, and people traveled because of trade. And that made people benefit and created a new culture and a new nation by the word Swahili. So these are the things that we have. But in Kenya, we are well known to have the natural heritage as a tool to promote tourism, which is wildlife. And that's why I said we need to take care of the natural heritage, wildlife, the cultural heritage, and the intangible heritage as a tool for consumption of tourism, so tourism can be able to feed and benefit culture. Thank you very much.
Is wildlife, in a sense, culture too? I'm asking you that question again from Kenya, Mr. Balawa.
Yes, because first, heritage. Culture and natural heritage is one heritage. And in our constitution, we must protect it. That's why we say the natural heritage for us is not only wildlife, but it has to go beyond wildlife. And that's why wildlife, for us so far, we have exploited that element, but we need to do more for culture. We have 42 communities and cultures. How do we share those communities without destroying them, but also appreciate? And definitely, the more we bring people or visitors to local communities, they feel the benefit, but also they interact and appreciate the world bigger than themselves and be able to bring peace in that community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to turn to Thailand now, where tourism is always strong, but there's a question sometimes, isn't there, about if it's the right kind of tourism for the country. Are people coming enough for culture, or are they just there for hedonism, if you like? Tell me, how do you deal with that, Minister? How do you make sure that the culture of the country, which I, by the way, have experienced, I've stayed in monasteries, I've seen a lot of Thailand, how do you make sure that is sold in a more forceful way?
Well, I think food is becoming the bigger part of culture these days. And not too many people go to Thailand without trying the local food. And when they taste the local food, it always that the benefits come direct to the people in the local. And it reflects the natural of how the Thai spirit was formed. 35 million international visitors coming to Thailand each year. And when they go into food of gastronomy tourism, it allows us to address one of the issues that we haven't been able to address very clearly before. That is the diversity of the culture that has already been with the locals. But with the amount of international visitors and also with the domestic tourists, we intend to want to protect the culture as well as to protect the natural resource. Therefore, this is the first year that to help the people in the local areas, the government decided to ban any use of plastic bag and also the styrofoam in any national parks, either it's on land or it's the marine parks. And would like them, if they would like to have food in those parks or in the zoo, we encourage them to try the local food that prepared by the local people. Now, with that, we come up with this idea. It's the container that visitors can bring and borrow from the ranger of the park and bring their own food into the park and bring it back as something not only contained, but also be able to reuse again. But this also helped the local to show what they got in their local food so that the guests can give it a try. With this, we think that when we get gastronomy to combine with tourism, it creates a new tool to address the income disparity in each area. And each area have different food. And each food will be able to explain by each of the family of the cook or the chef in this area to be able to tell them what are the ingredients, who grows them, and why is it put into those dish. This is the new thing that we do in Thailand instead of doing more of the same. But food is very variety in Thailand. It's become one of the more reasons for people to come back.
Thank you, and lovely food it is too. I've certainly had plenty of that. So from Thailand to Montenegro, and I want to ask the cultural minister there, how do you reconcile mass tourism and cultural tourism? How can they both coexist?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for this invitation, and as my previous colleagues mentioned, the cooperation between culture and tourism is something what is necessary, and I think that it's of significant importance, the cooperation between these two sectoral policies. Montenegro is switching from mass tourism to this, let's say, very exclusive tourism by providing diverse, let's say, offer in tourism, including, of course, the economic valorization of the cultural heritage. I think this is a very important segment of comprehensive touristic offer, because we know the data that cultural tourism makes 40% of European tourism in whole. that means that 4 out of 10 tourists wants to visit some cultural sites and to pay attention to these potentials that each country is having on its disposal. I think that Montenegro has a bright future, having in mind this national treasury that is a great potential of Montenegro, and we have provided many cultural heritage that needs to be reconstructed, refurbished, and given us economic benefit to Montenegro in the future. This means that we are, with sector of tourism, providing several projects and implementing them in this period. One of them is, for example, how to valorize potentials of Skadar Lake, which is the largest in Balkans, the second one in Europe, and those potentials which are lying on this route. It means that we are providing the valorization of this cultural heritage, but at the same time, on this route, we can meet with some museums, with the monuments. We can also provide the cultural routes between the two shores. So this is a great possibility to introduce, because one of the previous colleagues said the tourists are the customers, and to those customers we need to provide a good experience. And Montenegro, we have a slogan, Wild Beauty, it provides the diversity and very good potentials for bringing tourists every time back and providing a new experience to them. Just one more sentence and I will finish. I think also that creative industries will be in the future a very important part of this touristic offer, because if we provide some creative hubs for the colleagues from other countries who are dealing with art, with contemporary art, I think this is something what is very attractive to the tourists to come there, to make some accommodation and to create in Montenegro with the different cultures. I think this is a right strategy, and those experiences from abroad are good examples how to provide it between the institutions and between the countries. Thank you.
And I suppose part of the job here is to collaborate with other countries, find out from them how they do it. And certainly you're right, creative tourism is booming, and it's the new big thing. I want to turn to a Mr. behind you from the Czech Republic. And I know there's an issue there, which is that everyone wants to go to Prague. And they don't see enough of the rest of the country. So how do you spread the love, as they say? How do you make sure that cultures and communities in the rest of the country get a look in?
Thank you for the question. Ladies and gentlemen, in Czech Republic we have a problem. If you say in Czech Republic, people imagine only Prague. Maybe Český Krumlov, but not other. We have 12 UNESCO heritage in our country. Only one of them is Prague. The other is unknown for foreigner tourists, and we have a problem. We have our promoting agency, Czech Tourism, and we must change the promotion of Czech Republic, that we cannot promote only Prague. We must promote regional heritage. And I think that we will do it in the future.
How do you do it? Is it a policy?
It's very difficult because people are still thinking in agency, in the Prague, because it's a capital city, it's a ministry, it's a government here, and people in Prague thinking that Czech Republic is only Prague, and it's difficult to change their mind about it. But I think that we will manage it.
Okay. Let me turn to Spain. Now, Spain must be pretty sick of everyone talking about Barcelona and over-tourism and all the same things that seem to be told about in the news and probably on the BBC and probably by me as well. But how can, in a sense, culture help to solve that problem? How can you use culture to make people aware of, I mean, Spain has so many amazing cities and place destinations, but how can you spread the tourism load?
Bueno, buenos días a todos. En primer lugar, felicitar al gobierno ruso, perdona, a Turquía, al gobierno de Turquía y a la OMT por este evento tan interesante. Bueno, España es un país turístico, un país que tiene más de 82 millones de visitantes, de los cuales 13 nos visitan por su diversidad cultural. Entonces, ¿cómo podemos hacer? Pues con una gestión inteligente del turismo, con toda una programación. Tenemos que tener en cuenta que es necesaria, primero de todo, que la ciudad, que los visitantes y que los residentes tengan claro, por supuesto, la importancia del valor patrimonial, del valor cultural que hemos puesto en valor. Después, la colaboración público-privada. En la cadena de valor turística, que todos los agentes tengan esta concepción clara del valor que estamos poniendo en conocimiento. A partir de aquí hay varias cuestiones. Por una parte, tener en cuenta la importancia de la población residente y la colaboración público-privada en toda esta cadena de valor que estábamos comentando. Es esencial toda esta cuestión para que el turismo cultural pueda tener toda esta potencia que nosotros tenemos. España cuenta con un patrimonio cultural enorme, tenemos patrimonio cultural de 15 ciudades maravillosas que han ya celebrado su 25 aniversario y están haciendo una cantidad de eventos culturales muy interesantes. También yo creo que es muy interesante ser exigente, es necesario, perdón, ser exigente a la hora de hacer estos distintivos y, por supuesto, también a la hora de seguir teniendo este distintivo. Por esto yo creo que es importante la gestión inteligente de estas cuestiones. Esta gestión inteligente tiene, entre otros aspectos, la capacidad que tiene para absorber a visitantes, para hacer una promoción adecuada de este bien cultural, para que llegue a los segmentos que realmente están interesados en estas cuestiones y a partir de aquí, pues con esta colaboración público-privada, esta exigencia, esta diríamos, gestión inteligente con las nuevas tecnologías que nos permiten ver y saber los problemas que podemos tener y hacer frente a ellos, creo que en este sentido España puede seguir siendo una potencia cultural muy interesante. Tenemos una diversidad enorme en cuanto a muchos tipos de culturas. Tenemos muchos clubs de producto. En estos clubs de productos la colaboración público-privada es esencial. Tenemos rutas por España, tenemos enoturismo, gastronomía, historia, naturaleza. Tenemos todo un sinfín de posibilidades para poder ofrecer a nuestros visitantes.
Thank you. The case of Spain, I think, is something that the whole world is looking at in many ways because of this conflict, in a sense, between this notion of over-tourism and pushing culture. I think culture is such an important part of Spain, but thank you for that. Let's go to Equatorial Guinea, where there's probably a slightly different issue again, and this is, I think, more about awareness of the culture that you have, making people understand what your culture does in your country and making people want to come to Equatorial Guinea. I wonder if you could answer that, Minister.
Muchas gracias. Quisiéramos en primer lugar expresar nuestro reconocimiento y gratitud al gobierno turco por haber cursado una invitación a nuestro gobierno. Efectivamente, Guinea Ecuatorial es un país poco desconocido a nivel mundial y es el único país de África Negra que habla español. Guinea Ecuatorial tiene 1 millón de habitantes, 28.051 kilómetros cuadrados. Guinea Ecuatorial es el tercer productor del petróleo después de Angola, Nigeria y Guinea Ecuatorial. Cuando nosotros hemos comenzado a explotar el petróleo, lo que hemos pensado es mejorar las infraestructuras turísticas culturales, centros culturales, bibliotecas, mejoramiento de playas, hoteles, centros de conferencia. Desde que Guinea Ecuatorial, al día de hoy, ya sea de un país que estaba en la lista de los países más pobres de África al país emergente, al día de hoy. Y es el país que en los últimos años está organizando las mejores cumbres del mundo en el continente africano. Efectivamente, pasando por el tema del turismo, teníamos el problema del visado. Hace 4 meses, el gobierno ha decidido de instalar una oficina nacional del visado turístico online. Y después vamos a publicar un decreto que instaura el visado en la República de Guinea Ecuatorial. Guinea Ecuatorial concibe el turismo y la cultura como activos indosociables. Y estos activos tienen que trabajar en correlación para que los beneficios que generan puedan llegar a las comunidades. Para que Guinea Ecuatorial sea un destino turístico, que los turistas que estamos recibiendo ahora son turistas de conferencia, porque es lo que he dicho, que organizamos muchas conferencias cada año. Estamos en este momento firmando memorándum de entendimiento. Acabamos de estar en la República Popular China, donde hemos firmado con el Ministerio de Cultura y Turismo chino para que puedan orientar los turistas chinos a la República de Guinea Ecuatorial. Hemos firmado también con Mesa Berlín para que puedan traer los turistas a la República de Guinea Ecuatorial. Por esto nosotros, nuestra presencia en esta tercera conferencia que el gobierno ha visto necesario es para pedir ayuda a los países con conocimiento que ya han desarrollado su turismo para que nos puedan ayudar. Guinea Ecuatorial es rico en la variedad turística y cultural. Tenemos de todo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Let's go to another Spanish-speaking country in Latin America and Venezuela. Again, I've been there, and you realize that outside Caracas there is so much amazing culture there. I'm interested, partly, if you could answer this as well, in terms of culture. Thanks, Edmund. How you cooperate with other countries in Latin America. And also I want to know how much culture is important as part of the economy in the future.
Sí, un saludo a todas y todos, agradeciendo pues la invitación que nos hicieran a Venezuela para participar en este evento. Y efectivamente Venezuela es un país rico, está en los primeros lugares de reservas petroleras, de gas, de minerales. Sin embargo, el gobierno venezolano pues está dentro de sus planes al 2030 la incorporación del turismo como un hecho indivisiblemente ligado a la cultura. Y en ese sentido, a pesar de que en Venezuela tenemos el Ministerio de Turismo y el Ministerio de Cultura, trabajamos muy unidos para proteger los monumentos naturales, arqueológicos, paleontológicos, arquitectónicos que tenemos en nuestro país. Venezuela es un país multidiverso y tiene además una especie de muchos destinos, porque no es solo sol y playa, sino que además también están las zonas frías, están los médanos, las zonas áridas, y tenemos además un clima ideal todo el año. Y entendiendo pues que el turismo puede venir a sustentar la Venezuela postpetrolera, nosotros hemos venido trabajando con el sector privado, hemos hecho mesas de trabajo revisando pues todos los problemas que pudiéramos tener en nuestro país para ir juntos. Hemos entendido que la unión de los pueblos es absolutamente necesaria para poder avanzar en el turismo sostenible y sustentable. Además, hemos recientemente realizado una Feria Internacional del Turismo en Venezuela, que lo hacemos cada noviembre, en este caso fue del 22 al 25 de noviembre, y así lo vamos a hacer pues para el próximo año, en donde se han dado cita a una cantidad de países que quieren invertir en nuestro país. Para nadie es un secreto que Venezuela ha estado en los últimos años muy golpeada mediáticamente, y a pesar de que tenemos problemas económicos, por supuesto, pero somos un país en paz. Y sin embargo nos conseguimos personas que dicen no querer ir a Venezuela porque creen que estamos en guerra. Entonces nos han comparado con otros países que sí están en guerra. En ese sentido, pues tenemos un gran reto de poder nosotros decir la verdad de nuestros pueblos. Nuestros pueblos originarios además están actuando para proteger los patrimonios naturales, como por ejemplo el patrimonio Unesco Canaima. El gobierno ha hecho una gran inversión en patrimonios, por ejemplo, arquitectónicos, como el patrimonio de Coro y la Vela, que es su arquitectura data del siglo XVI. Es decir, hemos venido avanzando y creo que en los próximos meses puede ser que salga de la lista de patrimonio en peligro por todo el trabajo sostenido que se ha venido teniendo desde el gobierno. Tenemos un gran reto desde nuestro país. Tenemos claro pues, que el turismo y cultura son indivisibles, pero además también tenemos claro que el turismo traspasa la frontera. Y es la única fórmula que tenemos para nosotros poder decir la verdad de nuestro país. Además, este año hemos incorporado en la Feria Internacional del Turismo, como lo ha indicado la Organización Mundial de Turismo, el tema de tecnología. Y desde nuestra juventud hemos incorporado, pues, con el petro, el criptopago, tecnologías nuevas a través de estas manifestaciones de todo el país, que hemos podido, pues, para nosotros avanzar en la incorporación del petro y poder también romper las cadenas, digamos, económicas que les quieren imponer a nuestro país. Tenemos un gran reto, estamos convencidos, sabemos que turismo sin cultura no es turismo, es otra cosa, es conocer lugares, pero no tener experiencias positivas. En eso estamos muy claros y tenemos pues el gran reto de poder aumentar el turismo y poder hacer de Venezuela un país que a través del turismo pase a la época postpetrolera. Gracias.
It's a beautiful country. I can certainly testify to that. And the stories of the First Nations and Canaima, I think you're right, they have to be seen and enjoyed. Thank you. I want to just break a little bit from each country and talk to two panelists here who are from coming from broader perspectives. Firstly, to Pascal Lamy, who is the chairman of the World Committee on Tourism Ethics for UNWTO. Pascal, tell me, we have talked about quite a lot here about how culture is good for tourism and can be used for tourism. Ethically, is there an issue where culture it has to be seen as being much more than that? It has to be protected. It's almost sacrosanct.
Well, I mean, what we've heard until now is that basically tourism and culture are indivisible. So that's a nice thought. It's a good thing to believe, but we also know, and maybe ministers are a bit more cautious than I am, because I don't have to report to anybody but the General Assembly of the UNWTO. The reality is that we have a permanent tension between promoting and preserving culture. There is an intrinsic tension in the basic relationship between culture and tourism, between promoting, which we need to do in order to increase tourism, to have a better use of a lot of assets, heritage, food, and we've heard a lot about that this morning. That's one side, but the other side is that we know that the more we promote it, the more we risk damaging it, hence this preservation necessity. I don't think there is a single recipe for getting it right. Every country should have its own mix, but what we need is common principles of how to do that, because we have to do that in common. And this is where the Ethical Commission comes in, and this is why in the Code of Ethics of Tourism, which was adopted by UNWTO 20 years ago, there is quite a lot about how to handle this relationship between culture and tourism. We have agreed to principles, and these principles will now feature in the new version of the Code of Conduct, which is a proper international treaty, which was adopted at the UNWTO in Chengdu last year, and the linguistic versions of which will be adopted by the next GA September next year, so that this convention is then open to ratification. This is a major step forward because it would link us all in principles which we have agreed, but we sometimes have a bit of a difficulty to explain either to the tourist industry or to national authorities or to local authorities or to travelers themselves. And at the end of the day, I think the real importance of these ethical principles has to percolate down to end users, which are tourists themselves. And in a way, this is, if that could be done, and this convention will be, I think, a big step in the direction, it would help a lot addressing this tension, which we know will be there.
Just one more question to you. Do you think the younger tourist, if you like, the new generation of tourists, is more ethically aware? Are you optimistic about the future?
I think so, not because they are tourists, but because they have a lifestyle which in general is more aware of cultural differences. The problem of sort of average tourist looking for value for his or her money, he or she comes from a country, he wants to visit another country, but usually there's not much a notion of how different it is, why these differences are there, and the experience and the touristic experience, as we know, is more and more about experience, is that if you do the step which is about understanding how and why the people in the country which you visit behave the way they behave, what their art, what their food, what their narrative, then the notion that this is a difference in a way evaporates and it becomes a richness. And I think young generations, notably because of, the time they spend surfing on the internet or on Facebook or on Twitter, they have a better understanding of why these differences are there. And my own experience is that once you understand the differences, they tend to evaporate.
In fact, vive la différence as well, to a certain extent.
Agree.
Enjoy the diversity.
Agree with that.
And the gentleman next to you, now, Michael, you are Secretary General of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation. So how does culture fit into this?
Well, first of all, allow me to thank the Turkish government for inviting me, and of course also the WTO for inviting me to this prestigious event. The audience heard ministers presenting tourism in their countries. It's much easier than my, let me say, mission, which is to present cooperation in tourism among 12 member states, because the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization has 12 member states. It's almost 26 years old, and it covers in, let me say, in territories from the Balkans to the Black Sea and all the way to the Caucasus and Asia. Why is it difficult for us? Because tourism, I think, inherently has, as everything else in life, two phases. The first one is the competitive phase. There is a competition from each and every country to attract more tourists. And then the second phase, which is the necessity to cooperate, at least with your immediate neighbors, because you might be a tourist paradise, but if you are a tourist paradise in a desert, not many people will be visiting you. Especially nowadays, tourists from overseas tend to visit more than one country. So our organization, which is a, let's say, organization with countries from different religious or cultural background, is promoting cooperation in the fields of both tourism and culture. Our two working groups are the most active, perhaps. They cooperate together, and I think we have achieved a lot. We have cultural routes of Roman emperors. We have the Danube wine routes. We are now mapping the routes of Byzantine monuments in our member states. And because gastronomy was mentioned, we are funding now a project how to establish the brand Black Sea Cuisine. I would like, though, to say two words on a sentence that was said by Her Excellency the President of Malta. I think she literally said, appealed, let tourism embrace culture. And indeed, she also added that this embrace shouldn't lead to the suffocation of culture. And she said that because I believe that this risk really exists, especially in small local communities to whom we want to relate. Why? Because the people in these communities make a modest income by handicraft, by local food, by their own local culture. So if and when tourism comes in with a fast buck or a fast euro, if you want, and slowly directs all the population of this community in being active in tourism services, then in almost less than a generation, you will have lost all the culture for which tourists are coming there. So I wanted to point this out. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a bit of a warning there, in fact. Let's turn to Francophone Senegal. Well, obviously the music of Senegal I know, I love. That's an amazing cultural asset you have there. But what about in terms of local communities? How do you make sure that their culture is talked about and is learnt about by tourists, and also how they can actually get some benefits from culture and tourism?
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour à tout le monde. Je vais commencer d'abord par remercier donc, la Turquie de nous avoir invités ici pour participer à cette importante conférence. Effectivement, comme vous l'avez dit, le Sénégal aujourd'hui est connu par sa musique à travers donc, le roi du Mbalax, qu'on appelle Youssou Ndour, qui est une star internationale. Mais au-delà de Youssou Ndour, la culture a toujours joué un rôle prépondérant dans la promotion touristique, dans l'ouverture du Sénégal au niveau international. Parce que comme nous le savons nous tous, le Sénégal est un petit pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, mais qui est, par rapport à sa superficie, est un petit pays, mais qui a un rayonnement international sur le plan diplomatique, mais aussi sur le plan culturel. Et donc depuis son indépendance, le premier président de la République, Léopold Sédar Senghor, académicien français, a mis en avant l'aspect culturel à travers d'abord la négritude, qu'il a chanté partout dans le monde, mais aussi en prônant l'ouverture dans l'enracinement, c'est-à-dire rester, garder nos valeurs culturelles, mais s'ouvrir aux autres. Et ainsi, chaque collectivité territoriale du pays a sa spécificité culturelle. Aujourd'hui, nous avons notamment la Casamance, qui est une belle destination sur le plan écotouristique, mais aussi qui met en avant ses aspects culturels, sa diversité culturelle, pour vendre son produit touristique. Mais aussi, c'est le Sénégal aussi, dans son ensemble, qui met en œuvre la culture, parce que dans 3 jours, 4 jours, on va inaugurer, on va réaliser le rêve du premier président, Senghor, qui a eu à organiser en 1966 le premier festival mondial des arts nègres et avait lancé son souhait d'avoir un musée des civilisations noires à Dakar. Donc c'est chose faite. Donc Inch'Allah, le 6 décembre prochain, le président de la République va inaugurer ce musée qui a la capacité d'accueillir 18 000 pièces et qui reflète l'ensemble de la culture panafricaine. Donc, parce que dans son architecture, c'est la Casamance, les cases africaines qui ont été reproduites. Donc aujourd'hui, le Sénégal et l'Afrique même, aujourd'hui, a la culture comme vecteur de promotion touristique. Et c'est ce que nous avons compris toujours. Et c'est ce qui reflète tous les messages de promotion à l'étranger que nos agences mettent en avance pour vendre la destination sénégalaise. La diversité culturelle, l'enracinement et l'ouverture pour quand même protéger notre culture. C'est pourquoi on avait parlé de l'enracinement, mais aussi profiter de ce que l'autre apporte et ce qui va donner une civilisation de l'universel, pour répéter toujours le président Léopold Sédar Senghor. Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Thank you. I think the African culture really is, I think, what's going to be so fascinating in the next century or so. I'm very optimistic about the interest that Africa holds for so many people, and up until now, I don't think enough people have gone there. And on that tip, actually, let's talk to Liberia. Now, Liberia, again, is a country with a unique history. And again, how do you make sure, how do you guarantee that the culture of the country comes out and that people around the world are aware of that culture?
Thanks a lot. And let me also say thanks to our host for inviting us here along with the UNWTO and Unesco. Well, when I listened to the previous speaker talk about cooperation in the Black Sea area, it brought to mind a peculiar situation that we too have in countries like Liberia. Small, but because of the asset we have, my country has perhaps the largest area of rainforest with all the biodiversity in a small country, yet our greatest competitive advantage is for us to go into ecotourism because of the deficits we have in infrastructure. And therefore, our advantage is to go into ecotourism. But the anomaly is that by focusing and going into the rainforest, we'll be affecting the world's perhaps largest reserve of species. So how do we balance our need to expand in our strong areas without affecting what is now a great reserve for the rainforest, for biodiversity, without affecting it? So talking about ethics in tourism, I think there has to be more cooperation and more support, more endowment to small countries like ours that hold a lot of prizes for the world, but at the same time need to utilize the God-given asset for our own development. So it's something that we have to put on the table, how in spite of our great history and the problems that we have with infrastructure, lack of good rules, I, as the Minister of Tourism and Culture, I have a peculiar situation where what do? Do we build a road to a beach resort, or an area that has potential for beaches and then for resort, or do we build a road that will help us protect our forest, or do we preserve an ancestral village that's hundreds of years old? I mean, what is the balancing act? But I think with more cooperation like we have in the Black Sea area and with more endowment from the international community, we can achieve some parity in preserving the biodiversity that my country holds while at the same time tapping on the asset that we have.
Thank you very much. Let me turn to Cambodia, where obviously many of us know about the rich, ancient, and even contemporary culture that they have there. But I'm interested to ask to you, how much are you having to protect those valuable cultural resources in the face of large tourism?
Thank you for this opportunity. First of all, I'd like to take the opportunity to express our thanks to the host for the best arrangement and hospitality extended to us. Well, Cambodia had the opportunity to host the first conference on culture and tourism, building a new partnership in 2015. Based on this conference and the long experience of the tourism development and also the cooperation with the culture, I like to share in the conference in the 5 main points, and also related to your question as well. The first important point is that we build the partnership as we have done, and then the promote strengthening of the synergy between culture and tourism. As we are aware that the tourism have been seen as the driver for the contributing to the protection conservation, safeguarding of the cultural heritage. And white versus cultural heritage have been used or considered as the backbone of tourism development as tourism paradigm. As we all know that over 50% of the cultural tourism share in the total tourism in our world. And the second point I would like to share is that the sustainability of the development, especially in alignment with the UN SDG 2030, we need to ensure the impact of the development. We need to maximize the positive impact and then to minimize the negative one of the partnership between culture and tourism on social culture, economic, and also environment. And this is the important. And how to do this based on our experience in the ground implementation in the country. We need to encourage the involvement of the stakeholder. In Cambodia, we use the formula so-called 4P: public, private, partnership who support us, and also the people. The people including local community people and also the tourists who visit to that destination. This have to be involved together. And then the fourth point I would like to share is how to lead this participation or the involvement of those stakeholders. We need to set up a mechanism. Mechanism can be joined by the local own mechanism at destination, and also the mechanism supported from the international community. One case should be shared in this conference at the Angkor. Angkor is one of the greatest archaeological park. It's a cultural destination, not only in Cambodia, but in the region. Years now, Angkor received over 5 million visitors and to this destination, and about $1 billion income from tourism injected into the destination as well. So we have many questions between the balance of the sustainable development and also how to manage and conservation of the heritage. As your question is always asked from different people, from different experts, in terms of we want to get both hand in hand, the development and also the conservation and protection of the valuable heritage as well. So we need to have some mechanism. In Angkor, we create the special mechanism called ICC, International Coordinating Committee, which is consists of the local authority, participation from the local stakeholder, and also international community to support the Angkor. And we had regularly twice a year meeting and discussion about this issue, development and also the protection and the conservation, safeguarding of the heritage. So I think this is another lesson learned from that, and we can see a lot of benefit from this ICC, from this mechanism to implementation. And the last point I would like to say, based on our experience, I think that we need to have the important role of government in playing in this development and protection or conservation. Any form of the cooperation, so-called PPP, public-private partnership, PPP, public-public partnership, or PPC, public-private community partnership, any form of partnership, we need leading role from government. We need to add it. Any form of the cooperation, we need the government to lead it and to make sure, to ensure that the benefit of this cooperation and development. We need to have the clear vision, policy, strategy. Government need to ensure the peace, stability, political stability, and important is the commitment and the political will of the government to ensure that the benefit of all in this partnership. Yeah,
okay, thank you. We're doing really well in terms of discipline and people not talking for too long. It's really good, but we are still pushed for time, so I'm very happy to keep pacing you up and keep you egging along. This is really, really interesting to me. Anyway, it's fascinating to hear the different perspectives from all of you. I want to turn to Madagascar and ask you a specific question, which is, could you share perhaps one action that your administration has undertaken to balance tourism development and conservation interests? Because that must be, there must be a tension there.
Merci beaucoup pour la question et merci aussi pour l'invitation. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle que nous sommes ici. Tout d'abord, Madagascar est un pays béni des dieux, situé dans l'océan Indien, au sud-est du continent africain, avec un territoire archipélagique de 600 km², constitué d'une île principale et de toute une constellation de petites îles, toutes paradisiaques, aux faunes et flore exceptionnelles. Non seulement le pays possède d'importantes richesses naturelles, culturelles et historiques, mais sa population est très réputée pour son hospitalité, à dire de quelques 200 à 250 000 touristes annuels. Donc, la question se pose de savoir est-ce que nous serons à la mesure de gérer d'une manière optimale le développement du tourisme et puis la conservation de la culture en même temps. Donc, vu la richesse de Madagascar, on essaie déjà de vendre ces produits-là en tant que produits touristiques. On essaie aussi d'explorer pas mal les us et coutumes et la culture en général de l'ensemble du pays, puisque la population malgache est composée de 22 à 24 ethnies. Donc, on est actuellement en train d'explorer sa culture, sa propre culture dans chaque région, afin de pouvoir le traiter pour que tout cela devienne des produits touristiques. Mais il y a des risques. Des risques, pourquoi? Parce que chacun a sa propre culture. En plus, la culture ne se décrète jamais. Mais l'administration et puis le gouvernement en général essaie quand même de conserver. Par quels moyens? On essaie d'organiser chaque année des activités culturelles pour chaque région, afin que la population malgache connaît déjà sa propre culture, et on essaie de lui vendre, et en même temps on essaie d'enseigner et d'insérer dans des programmes d'éducation chaque culture, chaque us et chaque coutume, et c'est le gouvernement qui prend en charge pour que tout sera pérenne. En même temps, on essaie de les exploiter afin que la culture et puis le tourisme en même temps deviennent le levier de développement du pays. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Let me turn to a huge political and economic player in Africa, Nigeria. But Nigeria is also, to me anyway, a giant when it comes to art and literature particularly. I made a program recently about Chinua Achebe, who is this amazing author that I recommend to all of you. But in terms of the different ethnic minorities and communities that are in Nigeria, how do you make sure that their culture is showcased to tourists, that everyone gets a look in, if you like?
Permit me also to first thank the people and government of Turkey for this very wonderful, for being such wonderful hosts, and also thank the UNWTO and Unesco for this wonderful conference. Yes, it is true that Nigeria is a very diverse country. Yes, it is true that Nigeria is probably, unarguably, the most populous African nation. But the beauty of the country actually lies in its diversity. Diversity in the sense that the more than 250 ethnic groups that make up Nigeria are firmly rooted in their cultures. And these cultures are actually the mainstay of the people and the unifying factor in the country. Now, my ministry is in the process of getting a compendium of festivals all over the country. And what we realize is that we have about 365 festivals in Nigeria, and that we can afford to have one festival per day. Now, either in the north, or in the south, or in the middle belt, or in the southwest, the government, through its different agencies at local government, state, and federal level, encourages the promotion and the practice of the cultures of the people. In the north, for instance, you have the Dobas, you have the Dobas. In the southeast, you have the Yam festivals, you have the masquerades. In the southwest, you have your festival. In the part of the north, you have the Argungu, fishing festival. And there's every attempt, there's an attempt by every government at every level to ensure that these cultures, these festivals are maintained and they are showcased, every time. At the federal level, what we try to do is to provide that enabling environment for each state and each ethnic group to manifest and showcase this cultural diversity. And each year we have what you call the Abuja Carnival, which is a platform in which we invite each of the 36 states of the Federation to come and showcase their culture. Cultural diversity has also helped in unifying the country, because the more you understand the differences, between the different groups, the more you respect their differences and the more you work together. And in particular, you look at the various carnivals and the various festivals. They are community-based, they are active, they are human, and they create not just inclusiveness in society, but also cohesion in society. And at the local level, it's actually a veritable, tool also for job creation. It's not every festival, every cultural activity or event that can be an annual event or a weekly or daily event, because each of these festivals are actually rooted in the history of the people, in their culture, in their mores. For instance, the Your Festival, which is probably one of the most colorful festivals we have in the southwestern part of Nigeria, only comes, can only be staged if the king passes away or a new king, ascends the throne. So one will be very lucky in a lifetime to witness more than one or two of your festival, for instance. In the north, the Doba is, which is one of the most beautiful assemblage of, horses and, horse riders, takes place also only probably during the Eid Kabir or Eid Fitri, festival. But the important thing about all these festivals is that they employ people, they generate the economy, and at the same time, they remind people of their past. And the unique thing about these festivals, which actually struck me, is that the vanguard of these festivals are actually the elite. It's actually the lawyers and the doctors that don't want these cultures to die, and they want it. They don't want it to be polluted. They want it purified at every level, and that is what has kept this culture, pristine, and has kept them alive. I think those who were at the Abuja for the CAF UNWTO, in June, saw a bit of the cultural diversity of Nigeria because we had groups from every part of Nigeria. I think in summary, Nigerians are, yes, very diverse, in their culture, but actually that diversity is also the root of the unity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Let me turn to Gambia, and I wonder if you could give me an example of how tourism and culture are linked successfully, perhaps an illustration of that in Gambia.
Thank you very much. Let me also take this opportunity to join my colleagues to thank the Turkish government, UNWTO, and Unesco for inviting us to participate in this very important forum. This is the third one. We were last year in Oman. I will try to be brief, but also, of course, try to get my point across. One, I believe strongly that tourism and culture are intertwined. And as a government, a new government that came in, we have got a new cultural policy that is geared towards modern day activities of what we believe can complement tourism. And as a result, we've gone too far in making sure that tourism and culture works hand in hand. We've also realized the danger that alien culture that tourists come with, how it threatens our own local culture, our own culture. And as a result, the cultural policy have taken that into account to make sure that we preserve the best part of our culture and that it is not influenced by tourists who come with their own culture and their own behavior that is immune to our own society. And we've come with the Tourism Offences Act that has existed before, again, to preserve some of our values that we believe that need to be protected. Having said all this, I ventured into a lot of places I visited, and my most recent visit was in Saudi Arabia, and I visited the museum in Riyadh, the Museum of the Holy Prophet in Medina, and visited a lot of sites, and so made a little bit of research. I came to the point to believe that the strength of a country, the power of a country does not rely on its army or on its economy, but rather in its ability to preserve, protect its past, use it as an inspiration for national development. Judging from China, the Cultural Revolution, looking at Egypt, looking at Britain, and many other countries, in fact France, countries that preserve their culture, that have managed their culture to develop and to turn it to a situation that people have used it as part of their past to move forward and bring development. And I also believe that culture today, cultural institutes and cultural sites should no longer be meant for research and study tours, considering the need to raise resources to maintain these sites or this institute by virtue of climate change, as the President of Malta has said, and human degradation, and also human threat to some of these sites by virtue of over-tourism, as the case may be in Barcelona. I believe that cultural sites and cultural institutions should be transformed to be more enterprising and generate revenue that they would need to maintain, as the Minister of Tourism of Kenya have just indicated. And as a result, I want to believe that as governments, as organizations all over the world, we really need to find a way how we can use tourism as an aspect to also develop and maintain some of our cultural sites and make sure that really the sites are protected. What we believe, what we inherited also is managed in betterly managed. The gastronomic, our arts, our architectural culture, all these come to play. But we believe also the Gambia have been promoting what we call the ethics within the UNWTO. And that has led to the study that has just, the gentleman have just mentioned, because we've seen also how tourism have damaged the future of young ones who have gone out of school, became dropouts. What do we do as institutions, as government, to protect the young from this type of vices that would certainly protect the young and not to be affected by tourism. In as much as tourism is an asset, a vehicle of development, and a tool for jobs creation and other aspects, I think as government we also need to be more responsible to try to see where we might be to.
Okay, thank you very much. Some very forcefully put points there, thank you. Let's turn to Tanzania, and again, let me ask that question. Is there ever a conflict between the desire to preserve culture and wildlife and nature and the tourism push? How often, is that ever a problem?
Thank you, Rajan. Certainly there is, and it could be used to either to the advantage of the country or to the advantage of the conservation itself, or it could be used to the detrimental effect of the environment, as you may want to put it. The key word would be how to manage the assets properly, how to tap from tourism and then turn the resources that comes from tourism into conservation and protection, and as well as into community development. That would be the main question. And in relation to culture, coming from a country with more than 128 ethnic tribes, which speaks different languages, which have their own culture when it comes to food and all these other social aspects, but united by one culture, that is Swahili, which came from which has its own roots from other tribes, from other nations, like the Arab people when they came, the Portuguese, the Germans, the British, and then we got this new culture. So I would like to say that culture is dynamic. It's not rather static. So it kind of evolves from time to time. But again, there is the dilemma that it has to be preserved. Somehow it's kind of a difficult question to try and find a delicate balance between culture and development, preservation and protection.
But you have to do it, don't you? It has to happen. You have to protect.
Fortunately, yes. But it's challenging, I would say. For instance, like in Tanzania at the moment, I would just cite, like, in Tanzania actually, this is the only country in Africa that has all the 4 tongues spoken in all the African countries. So we have the Hamitic, we have the Kushtic, the Nilotic, we have the Bantu speaking like myself, as well as we have the Bushmen, the clique, like the ones you find in the Kalahari. Now, with all these 4 tribes, the Hadzabe, that is like the Bushmen of the Kalahari, is the one with the smallest proportion, and it attracts a lot of interest from visitors who comes to our country. So actually, they have a population of close to between 1,000 to 2,000. So it's just a small proportion. They have their culture. We've allowed them to live in the protected areas. We've allowed them to use the bush meat and everything as they used to live in the past. But then it comes a challenge. Do you educate these people? Do you bring into them health technologies, modern health technology to these people? Much as you want to protect them, much as you want to preserve their culture, you want also to modernize them, you want to develop them. So it's a difficult question when it comes to thinking of preservation as well as protection of culture. But whatever that we do, we have to make an effort to find and strike a balance between the two.
Thank you very much. Let me turn now to Morocco, because I know Morocco has done really well in terms of changing its tourist face and actually pushing other parts apart from Marrakesh to the fore. But I would ask again, how do you make sure that culture is very, very central to that? How do you make sure that people don't just come for rest and relaxation, but actually get involved with what culture can offer?
Je voudrais à mon tour remercier les organisateurs de cette conférence, saluer Monsieur le secrétaire général de l'Organisation mondiale du tourisme, Monsieur le ministre turc du tourisme et de la culture, et tous mes collègues ici présents pour cette intéressante conférence. Je voudrais aussi rendre un hommage particulier à l'Unesco et dire que j'ai été ému tout à l'heure quand j'ai vu apparaître sur les écrans la figure de la secrétaire générale de l'Unesco qui s'appelle Audrey Azoulay et qui est marocaine d'origine, qui a vécu au Maroc, qui a vécu les traditions marocaines, qui a vécu la culture marocaine et qui est aujourd'hui à la tête de cette immense organisation qu'est l'Unesco. Je voudrais aussi dire que le Maroc, qui est un pays africain, pays nord-africain, pays arabe, pays musulman, c'est aussi un pays qui a inscrit dans le préambule de sa constitution les valeurs de tolérance, les valeurs d'ouverture, les valeurs de dialogue. Et c'est la principale force de notre pays. On a tous discuté aujourd'hui de la relation entre la culture et le tourisme. Beaucoup de pays se sont posés des questions pour savoir où placer le tourisme, qui est un secteur transversal par excellence. Alors, on a certaines architectures gouvernementales où le tourisme est lié effectivement à la culture. Nous avons dans d'autres pays, le tourisme est lié au sport. Dans d'autres pays, il est lié à l'industrie. Dans certains pays, et je me souviens qu'en Espagne, il était lié aux nouvelles technologies, le tourisme et les nouvelles technologies, étant donné l'importance aujourd'hui des nouvelles technologies dans le développement du tourisme. Mais en fait, il y a une fusion intrinsèque entre le tourisme et la culture, entre le tourisme et la civilisation, entre le tourisme et les valeurs humaines et humanistes que nous portons. Donc aujourd'hui, pour moi, le développement du tourisme ne peut passer que par le développement de la culture et des valeurs véhiculées par nos différentes civilisations. On peut construire des infrastructures, on peut avoir du béton partout, on peut avoir des côtes et des plages partout, on peut avoir des franchises internationales partout, mais notre culture reste notre spécificité et le principal levier de développement du tourisme.
Thank you very much. Let me turn to the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. And actually, I want to ask you a specific question, if you can answer this. And how important is having a UNESCO heritage site to a country's tourism? Can I ask you that?
Thank you so much, indeed. Actually, Macedonia is a country situated in the central part of the southeastern Europe, in the crossroads of the two pan-European corridors, but at the same time, it's a country with an impressive cultural heritage, immovable goods of profane and sacral architecture, archaeological sites, monumental units from different time periods, etc. So therefore, we strive to promote our country in an international context with the entry of cultural goods on the UNESCO World Heritage list of World Heritage sites. Therefore, a lot of local units and many cities in our country use cultural heritage and cultural events to stimulate economic development, to animate local communities, the private sector individuals, to attract tourists as well as investors. Even up to date, most of Macedonian cities have the old bazaars, places where traditional Macedonian crafts once flourished. For example, national gold and filigree products with local cultural, symbolical seals. And therefore, we understood the importance of this, so the core of these cities are protected with the special laws. Also, we do realize as the Ministry of Culture and we endeavor to allow other activities such as the openings of new museums or the restoration of museum settings. On this occasion, I would like to mention a concrete initiative and thanks to the support of the Republic of Turkey, we restored a museum of the house of the parents of the Mustafa Kemal Atatürk in 2014, which is a great example of how culture can affect all development dimensions. We are a completely open country, a young country, attractive, and we do believe that, and we are expecting a different type of investments, both material and on the level of idea, and we do believe that through these investments we can stimulate the creative industries.
Thank you very much. I want to turn now to and we're getting towards the end, I want to turn now to the very special examples, I think, of Sudan and South Sudan. With Sudan first, amazing rich culture, which again, maybe the world doesn't know enough about that. Is that something that you are trying to change?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أولا شكرا لوزارة الثقافة والسياحة التركية وكذلك الحكومة التركية وكذلك منظمة السياحة العالمية واليونسكو والاستضافة. شكرا على الفرصة. نحن في السودان مسألة الثقافة والسياحة بالنسبة لي شخصيا واضح جدا، لأنه كنت رئيس لجنة الثقافة والسياحة في البرلمان السوداني. من خلال البيانات ومن خلال الرقابة اتضح أنه أهمية الثقافة للسياحة وكذلك السياحة للثقافة. والآن تم دمج الثقافة والسياحة في وزارة واحدة، وده يعني سهل من مهمة الثقافة وكذلك السياحة. نحن في السودان أيضا لدينا تنوع ثقافي، هي دولة عربية إفريقية فيها تنوع كبير، فيها يعني ثقافات متعددة. نحن عندنا محميات أيضا طبيعية، 2 منها بحرية مسجلة في التراث العالمي في البحر الأحمر. لدينا الشمس والرمل وكذلك لدينا البحر. نحن في السودان نعمل على كيفية تواصل الأجيال في الحفاظ على التراث وكذلك صون التراث الثقافي المادي وكذلك غير المادي. لدينا مهرجانات كما ذكر بعض الإخوة. لدينا عواصم ثقافية، عواصم للثقافة السودانية وعواصم للتراث السوداني وكذلك عواصم للثقافة العربية وعواصم للثقافة الإسلامية بالتعاون مع شركائنا. لدينا جواذب سياحية كبيرة، مشاركة مجتمعات المحلية. دستورنا في السودان دستور 2005 أمر السياحة والثقافة والتراث هي مشتركة، سلطات مشتركة بين الحكومة الفيدرالية الاتحادية وكذلك الولايات. فبالتالي هنالك يعني وفق هذه السلطات المشتركة نقوم إدارة أمر السياحة وكذلك الثقافة بمشاركة المجتمعات المحلية وبالتعاون أيضا مع اليونسكو. الآن السودان يقوم بتدريب الإدارات الأهلية والمجتمعات المحلية في صون وحفظ التراث وفق اتفاقية سون التراث الثقافي. وأيضا كذلك تأهيل المتاحف بالتعاون مع شركائنا وبدعم من شركائنا كدولة تركيا في السواكن. أيضا الآن نسعى إلى مخاطبة جيراننا في مسألة درب الأربعين أو طريق الحج البربط غرب إفريقيا بصوائل البحر الأحمر في السواكن. هذا الطريق بمر بمحميات طبيعية ومحميات كبيرة فيها تراث وفيها إرث كبير. إحياء هذا الطريق أيضا بيساعدنا في مسألة السياحة. لدينا تأهيل للآثار في شمال السودان، مناطق مسجلة في التراث العالمي، بركل، البجراوية، مروي. أيضا في تأهيل لهذه الآثار أيضا بتعاون وشراكة مع دولة قطر. كذلك لدينا يعني احتفالات راتبة للأجيال مدارس الثانوية، طلاب في المدارس الثانوية نعمل دورات ومهرجانات ثقافية وتراثية لكل ولايات السودان. نحتفل أيضا بعواصم السلام، أنه كلكم تعلمون أن السودان خرج من النزاعات، فبالتالي لدينا عواصم لثقافة السلام، وده يعزز من العملية السياحية وبخدم العملية الثقافية. وهنالك أيضا قرارات اتخذت يعني بعد دمج هذه الوزارات، أيضا تسهيل عملية الفيزا وإبلاغ السفارات الخارج، وكذلك القدوم السياحي والتنقل داخل القطر. كل هذه المجهودات هي كبيرة، ولكن أيضا محتاج لتعاون وشراكات. وإن شاء الله السودان لديه يعني خطط لأنه يعمل اتفاقات، وحتى في هذه الزيارة ممكن مع اخواننا في تركيا ممكن نناقش بعض القضايا ممكن، وبعض المنظمات وكذلك بعض الدول لدينا بعض الشراكات في هذا المجال. لدينا جوازب سياحية كبيرة، محميات طبيعية، ولكن الوصول إليه أحيانا في صعوبة، أيضا محتاجة لبعض التعاون. في مسألة نحن احتفلنا هذا العام في يوم العالمي للسياحة بالرقمنة السياحة في السودان، ولكن نرى أنه يعني بالتعاون مع كل الشركاء وكل الدول وكذلك منظمة السياحة العالمية ممكن أن يتعامل مرشد إلكتروني يكون فيها اللغات عدة، على الأقل اللغات الرئيسية أو لغات التواصل يعني للسؤال، حتى يسهل عملية التواصل، لأنه مسألة الترجمة واللغات، لأنه مجتمعات محلية في صعوبة أنك تدرب كل الشعب وكل المجتمعات المحلية التي يتحدثون اللغات في مسألة السياحة، لأنه يأتون من مختلف الدول. فبالتالي يخوف في منظمة السياحة العالمية لو استطاعوا بالتعاون مع الدول ومع شركاء في أنهم يعملوا دليل إلكتروني، إرشاد إلكتروني بلغات مختلفة، حتى السياح يتمكنون من أنهم يتواصلوا في هذا الأمر يعني. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you. It sounds like Turkey has been involved with a lot of collaboration and help here, which is all credit to Turkey for that. And now to your neighbour, and literally your neighbour as well, to South Sudan. Here we're talking about creating, in a sense, an awareness of the identity of a country, aren't we? And this is a big challenge, I suspect, for you.
Thank you very much, Moderator. I really want to appreciate and thank the government of Turkey for inviting us to attend this very important meeting or conference under the theme of benefit for all. This is our first time as a young country to participate. I would have really said that if there is nothing to be said about the culture and tourism, my colleague from Sudan can say it. But I want to start from since we gained our country in 2011. You know, all of you, or some of you knows that South Sudan is gained its independence in 2011 from our part in North. And I want to say that really culture and tourism are the areas where the people are not different, despite of different backgrounds. But when we come about our cultures, about our tourism, the natural resources we have, we agreed, all of us. And this is, everyone can agree with me on that matter. Yes, about our identity, we have 64 tribes in our country. And all of us, the most important thing is that we have different languages and we have different cultural norms, and also most of us, we are protecting our culture and we preserve our culture, and this is very important because when we are more than 64 tribes, it's not easy for others to say that we can come together. But we are getting ourselves that we are one language, one nation, and one heritage. Let me just mention a bit of part of tourism. As you know that our ministries are divided. We have tourism in different ministry, and also we have a different ministry which is for culture where I head it. But we are working closely, and as you know that South Sudan was for long period ago was a landlocked country with all the natural resources we have. We're blessed with the natural resources and very beautiful country. It's just not a say for those who went there after the different ways that we went. Others went there for trade and others for organization, different organizations working in South Sudan. But we are blessed countries, and we have parks, and we have landscapes, and we have many wildlife. Wild animals in our part. But because there is different circumstances that the country went through, the wars and also instability and insecurity, and we did not, the country is undeveloped in tourism. But I really want to appreciate the role played by UNESCO during, since 2011. They want to make sure that the tourism, the heritage, and the culture is preserved and protected by the communities for the benefits of the communities. We have submitted 3 sites, and UNESCO accepted 2 years ago, and we are in the process now to develop our tourism sector in the country. The most important things as we came together today as a responsible ministries for tourism and culture, the most important things are not that to look at the tourism as a generation resources, but let us use it as a link to link our communities in different countries. Because if we are in the same list of the world, and then as South Sudan as the last country in the list, I want to make sure that I have a strong relation in terms of culture, preserving culture, and then use our tourism as a knowledge, as also give what you have to other countries that need to be given. And this is where we came together today, and really I'm happy about the themes, the benefit of all. Let us think about the benefit of all. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's turn to Ukraine, just in front of you there. I've been to Ukraine a couple of times actually, and it is again rich in culture. Let's put the current affairs aspect, the news, if you like, to one side now. But tell me again here, is enough of the country in terms of culture getting a fair hearing? Are people aware of Ukraine's diverse culture?
Огромное спасибо, Раджан. Под конец нашего регламента нашей сессии я, пользуясь случаем, хотел бы очень кратко сказать и обратить внимание на один очень важный момент миссии культуры и туризма, о котором сегодня сказала в своем прекрасном спиче президент Мальты. Это миссия миротворчества. И хотел бы напомнить, что когда мы говорим о развитии культурного наследия, когда мы говорим о привлекательности какого-то туристического места, мы в следующий момент можем думать об утрате и уничтожении его. Я очень благодарен, что на каждой сессии ЮНЕСКО мы имеем большую поддержку со стороны многих европейских стран и стран мирового сообщества в части того, чтобы сберечь культурное наследие, которое поддается агрессии со стороны Российской Федерации. И простой пример, я очень кратко приведу. Когда мы до аннексии Крыма полуострова Крыма, который очень привлекательный со стороны туристического, который имеет мировое наследие, Херсонес, ханский дворец Бахчисарай. Мы разговаривали с нашими друзьями, соседями через Черное море, с Турцией, о том, чтобы привлечь бизнес туристический, чтобы лучшие ательеры развивали туристический бизнес, инфраструктуру туристическую. Сейчас, после аннексии, мы не можем об этом говорить, и об этом уже не говорит никто. Мы только думаем о том, чтобы это прекрасное место было спасено. Если мы говорим о разнообразии, конечно, что Украина очень большая страна. Это страна, где есть море, где есть горы, где есть реки, леса, и где есть много этнических разных культур. И в этом плане мы много делаем больших программ со стороны культуры для того, чтобы как раз и привлечь туристическую часть. Большой проект, который называется «Маленькие города. Большие впечатления». Коллеги сегодня рассказывали о децентрализации, о том, чтобы в маленькие города приезжали много людей, для того, чтобы приезжали люди как в части интереса внутреннего туризма, так и те, кто приезжает с европейских стран, с разных стран мира. Я еще раз бы хотел призвать, чтобы мы думали о том, что на таких сессиях важных мы думали о тех механизмах и более решительных действиях для того, чтобы решительно реагировать на моменты утраты, для того, чтобы создавать мониторинговые комиссии и направлять их в те места, где есть риск утраты как культурного наследия, соответственно, и туристической привлекательности. Огромное спасибо.
Okay. Just a couple more countries to go. Let me ask the representative from Bahrain now. How do you see the cooperation of culture and tourism working for your country?
First of all, I think it's very important to highlight the fact that the global tourist behavior has evolved and has tremendously changed within the 5 years. And I think it's very important for us as the public sector and the private sector to adapt to these changes. For instance, in the past, people used to visit countries. Today, they experience a country. So it's not about visiting certain sites, it's more about experiencing a site. And I think one of the most important elements when it comes to tourism and culture is that culture plays a vital role in experience, and especially when it comes to the cycle that the tourist goes through. And culture preserves the identity of the country, and hence I believe the leadership of any country and the people of the country should believe in their historical monuments and understand the importance of it before marketing it to the outside world. And I believe Bahrain has a very successful case study on that, because our leadership, His Majesty, the King of Bahrain, was able to protect our heritage in terms of our Arabian horses, our pearling industry, and reviving old historical monuments. Now Bahrain has 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and we work closely with the Cultural Authority to promote that site to certain target markets. And I believe that the unique experience that Bahrain has is that it's a melting point of different cultures. For instance, in Manama Souk, one of our traditional souks, you have in a 2-kilometer radius a mosque, a church, a Jewish synagogue, and an Hindu temple that was there for more than 100 years. And I believe this experience of tolerance and the experience of protecting your identity is vital. And because of as the Minister of Gambia mentioned earlier, it's your history that builds your future. And I believe to actually balance and evolve within the technology and globalizations. For instance, now with Airbnb platform, it's not just booking an apartment, it's actually having activities to do within your surroundings and the experience itself. So I believe adapting to the changes and the evolving tourism sector that we see that rapidly changes in a very fast manner is vital.
Yeah, everyone talks about experiential tourism, don't they? That's the new buzzword that everyone's talking about, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just, I would like to add one more thing. For instance, the pearl diving experience. We were known for our natural pearls for many years. We actually, in the past year and a half, changed the law in Bahrain to allow tourists to pearl dive and actually go and find pearls in the country. And we are the first country in the world to actually give that opportunity to a tourist to dive into the seas and try to find oysters with pearls.
And can you keep them?
You can keep up to 10. The law actually says that.
Okay. Let me turn to the gentleman to your right from Angola. Tell me there, I mean, again, Angola's rich history, and obviously it's got the Portuguese background. I'm really interested in how, again, you sell the culture of the country.
Thank you, Moderator. Thank the organizer for the invitation extended to us to be here. Angola is really potential rich, but is also oil country dependent of oil. And you know better than me how the prices is behaving on market price. Angola is promoting the culture and sustainable tourism. We have in the north now promoting Banza Congo. It's a cultural heritage declared by Unesco recently. And we also in south, we are promoting CASA as a project, multilateral project with Zambia, Zimbabwe, Namibia, and Botswana to protecting the biodiversity. All these challenge we are facing now because the oil price and the challenge we have to develop the economy. The government promotes the 5 years developing plan from 2018 to 2022 that includes the tourism as a very important strategical sector to contribute more for the development, all the economy, the labor, and all the opportunities that the tourism is bringing to us. In general, we are also, as I said, we are promoting the cultural heritage, also the biodiversity. It's very vibrant in Kavango area, and I invite you all to watch the Netgeo channel on 14th of December. They will promote and pass a documentary about the biodiversity in Angola.
Okay, very good plug there at the end, excellent. And now, last but not least, to Azerbaijan, and actually a very constructive attitude in a sense to culture and tourism, because you actually have cultural roots, don't you? That's what the focus is on.
Evet. Teşekkürümü bildirirəm, Sayın Moderator. Eyni zamanda Türkiye Cumhuriyeti'nin Kültür ve Turizm Bakanlığına, Birleşmiş Milletler'in Dünya Turizm Teşkilatı'na ve Unesco'ya bu büyük bir konferansın təşkilinə görə. Önceden söyleyeyim ki, Azerbaycan Şərqi Avropada, güneydə Kafkasya dağlarında, Kafkasya dağları zonasında Xəzər dənizi sahilində yerləşən bir ölkədir. 9 milyondan artıq nüfusu olan bir müsəlman respublikasıdır. Ölkəmizin zəngin mədəniyyəti, kültürü vardır. qədim tarixi, qonaqpərvərliyi, zəngin milli mətbəxi və özünə məxsus ənənələri vardır. Və bu xüsusiyyətlər bizim ölkəyə turistləri cəlb edir. Son illər ölkəmizdə turizm və mədəniyyətin inkişafına diqqət artmışdır. Və bildirim ki, dövlətin bu sahədə atdığı addımlar mühüm rol oynamışdır. Kültürün inkişafı üçün, mədəniyyətimizin inkişafı üçün, turizmin inkişafı üçün xüsusi qanunlar, qərarlar qəbul edilmişdir. Mən vaxtın azlığını nəzərə alaraq bugün bir Kültür Bakanlığının nümayəndəsi kimi xüsusilə mədəni marşrutlar, kültür marşrutlara olan məsələyə diqqətinizi cəlb etmək istərdim. Biz Azərbaycanda buna xüsusi önəm veririk. Düşünürük ki, turizmin və mədəniyyətin birgə inkişafı üçün bu vacibdir. Azərbaycanda xüsusilə bir neçə mədəni marşrutlar yolları son illər müəyyən edilmişdir. Məsəl üçün, zeytun yolları, ipək yolları, Avropa İrs marşrutları. Bu marşrutlar Avropada, Asiyada və digər ölkələrdə turistləri cəlb etməyə başlamışdır. Məndən öncə çıxış edənlərin fikirlərindən birinə qatılmaq istərdim. Xüsusilə kütləvi turizmin təzyiqi altında mədəni abidələrin zədələnməsi haqqında. Təbii ki, bu böyük bir problemdir və biz ölkəmizdə bu problemin həlli üçün həm Kültür Bakanlığı, Mədəniyyət Nazirliyi, həm Dövlət Turizm Agentliyi ilə birgə çalışıb müəyyən qərarlar qəbul edirik. Hesab edirik ki, mədəni irsimiz, mədəniyyətimiz turistlərə açıq olmalıdır. Yalnız biz öz mədəniyyətimizi də qorumalıyıq, inkişaf etdirməliyik. Fürsətdən istifadə edərək, mən burada olan Turizm Bakanlığı nümayəndələrini, Mədəniyyət Bakanlığı nümayəndələrini, bu konferansa gələn bütün qonaqları Azərbaycanın mədəniyyəti ilə tanış olması üçün ölkəmizə dəvət edirəm. Təşəkkür.
Thank you. Okay, I think everybody who wanted to speak has spoken. Thank you so much for your patience. You are, sorry, you okay? Nope. Nope, I'm sorry, I thought I was getting a signal. No. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm sure you're very, very hungry indeed. Well done to everybody here. I think that's a record for me, by the way, 34 people talking in one session. So I think we should all give ourselves a big round of applause for that, let alone everything else. Have a gorgeous lunch and lovely day and lovely conference. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Evet, Sayın Bakanlara ve Sayın Datar'a teşekkür ediyoruz. Şimdi efendim bana kulak kabartmanızı rica edeceğim. Saat 2.30'da yine burada buluşacağız. Rumeli salonunda öğle yemeği aramız olacak ve sosyal program içinde kayıt masasında kaydınızı yaptırmanızı rica edeceğim.